Welcome back to Exploring with Em and Stu.
And today we are here in Essex on a lovely day where we're going to be taking you on one of our favourite types of explores. If you watch us regularly, then you'll know we love a good military location.
Yeah.
And we've got a good one for you today, which often suffers from a bit of a mistaken identity, with people believing it is in fact World War II, when it isn't. So today we're going to be taking you for a look around East Tilbury's Victorian gun battery. So this early constructed battery was in fact built in 1893. It consisted of 4 gun emplacements in 2 sort of separate locations. We're going to start by taking you for a little bit of a look at the south emplacement because it's in fact in quite an original state. And then we're going to be taking you up to the north one where we'll explain what happened with that one later on. So here's the first emplacement we're going to be taking you for a little bit of a look at. And if you look just down here, we've got these almighty bolts, which would have in fact had 6-pounder quick fire guns mounted on it. Back in those days, they were really quite big, chunky guns, so obviously they needed massive bolts for them. And they would have obviously been pointing out to the estuary, which we'll talk a bit about in a minute. But just down here, in this overgrowth and rubbish, unfortunately, is very likely some small expense magazines where that ammunition would have just been put very quickly so it could have been stuck into those guns. We've got a few of those about, which we'll take you for a little look at in a minute. And just at the back of the guns here, we've got more of these sort of expense magazines along here. And in fact, just in front of me there, we've got another small expense magazine. We've always been a little bit curious actually as to what these sort of little alcoves are. I mean, we often see alcoves in these older sort of gun batteries and they're usually associated with sort of like light tunnels, but obviously this doesn't appear to be that. Whether or not there was some sort of roof on this and it could have been some sort of shelf, don't really know. But we've got another gun emplacement here, so maybe we'll take you for a little look at that one. And just up here on the second gun emplacement, along here we've got these, well, what's left of the guardrail. It would have obviously have had a little bit of a bar through here. I mean, it's nice that they actually cared a little bit about the protection, and also it's nice that they're here because normally these have been sort of robbed and scrapped. Any metal on these things, unfortunately, usually gets scrapped. But of course, down here where this massive big 6-pounder quickfire gun would have been, I suppose they weren't going to get these off because they're blooming chunky, aren't they? I mean, these massive bolts with these huge nuts on it. You can only imagine the strength that these guns obviously had to need to be so sort of fixed to this concrete here. So that's really lovely to see. So much of it still in place. And of course, these massive big guns here were basically put here because if you just look over there, of course, you've got the huge estuary of the Thames. And of course, it was protecting the Thames and ultimately London from enemy U-boats, torpedo boats, minesweepers, before it got anywhere near, of course, the actual city itself. Right, so that's these big gun emplacements for you, but we've got a few more features to this particular emplacement just down here. So I'm going to take you for a little look. Well, I do believe that Stu is going to join us as well. Right, and here he is.
Yeah, I've just been hanging about down here actually, Emma. Yeah. It's been quite interesting having a quick look through all this, and I think these are dispense magazines and an actual magazine. I
should imagine so. I think there's a couple more of those expense magazines.
Expense, I just said expense, didn't I?
Yeah, I don't know what you said.
I don't know.
But anyway, we were having a little look at this, and there's a few little features here which we're going to guess because obviously we don't know, but there's some sort of reinforcement coming out here, almost like great big sort of RSJs or something, isn't there? I mean, I wonder whether or not over this section just here was some sort of roof structure. Because
I reckon so.
Look at the size of these, look, they are really big, chunky.
Yeah.
And they run...
Is that actually got... That's actually metal.
There's
a metal
that
structure
is metal.
in that,
It's like it's been cut off. I wonder whether there was something
Probably another
here.
roof. But we do know there's one structure here that goes between this one and another gun battery, just literally over next door
when we
to
get
this.
to the second block
And
set
we'll show you that, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but it looks like these are expense magazines. I'm just going to say that excessively. And there you go. And then obviously
It's a bit
down here
overgrown.
with Emma crushing all this
Oh,
down.
have I got to get, are you going to get down there?
No,
or
I'm going to go down
Go on
today. We've actually got the main magazine for this battery. And obviously telltale signs are all these
Now
amazing.
These ventilation sort of grills, if you remember our St Martin's battery, were really ornate in that one. But
They were terracotta, weren't they?
They were, and they were quite beautifully decorated. These ones, not so much, but then don't forget that this battery is just a little bit more modern than that one.
Yeah.
So they didn't really care so much come then. But yeah, this very small magazine.
But it's nice though, because if you can notice the feature, it has the vaulted ceiling, which is always a really nice feature. Me and Emma always get very sort of excited about that with the Victorian bricks and things.
Well, that's it. We generally can sort of tell the age of these places just by looking at it. If they've got vaulted ceilings, they often are older than World War I and World War II.
Yes.
When we've come in the past, we've not been quite sure, have we, about the age of this structure.
No, but obviously where we've done our videos throughout 4 or 5 years now, we've really researched, and now we kind of know what we're looking
sort
at.
of learn what you're looking for.
We do a lot of research coming to these places. I mean, hours and hours and hours before we get here. So hopefully this information is right.
Yes, hopefully it's more accurate than a previous visit that we've done
Yeah.
here. But anyway, so I think that's probably everything there is to see at this particular gun emplacement, which, like I said, is pretty much in its original 1893 sort of state. Yeah. There's another one just
Which
to
is
the north,
it's a mismatch, isn't
which
it?
is very different to this one. So I
So-
think we'll get over there and have a look.
Let's have a look.
Now, on our way to that next emplacement, just to the north, we've actually got remains of a structure which is just here. Now, you may think this is just a bunch of our concrete, and pretty much that's exactly what it is now. But when it was originally built, there was in fact a crew hut or shelter here. I think it was possibly just sort of corrugated iron on these sort of concrete sort of plinth foundations. But there's not an awful lot of it left, as you can see now, but we thought it was probably worth just pointing out because it has got some significance to this gun battery. Now here we are at the north gun emplacement, and if you just take a little look at this, then what you'll see is pretty much identical to the one at the south. So it is to begin with anyway. As you can see, we've got a gun emplacement mounted up here with some of those great big bolts looking out onto the estuary. Of course, these 6-pounder gun emplacements were reeling off in 25 rounds per minute, which is quite incredible really. Quick fire guns, of course, as I said. The reason why it needed to be quick fire was because these U-boats and all sorts were really quick. So these were perfect for the job of manoeuvring really quickly to try and get those. And other than the expense magazines below, this part really is pretty much identical to the other one. So here we bring you to the other part of this particular gun emplacement. And if I take you for a little look, you'll see it's actually quite different to the other one over in the south, because this one actually was quite significantly adapted in the beginning of the 1900s. So in around 1903, they actually decided to get rid of all the guns that were on the top here, and instead they basically plonked these big searchlight emplacements straight on top of them, which again looked out straight onto the estuary. Searchlights, of course, its job basically was to search for any enemies. I mean, we're talking about 1903 to 1905. We're talking about boats, U-boats, of course not aircrafts back then. But that's basically what this structure is. And if you just take a little look to the bottom of this building, this is about the only feature there is to see, is where these huge shutters would have been along the top here and the bottom. I guess they would have kept the searchlight on most of the time, and it would have just been closed off sort of when they needed to. But there's another one to look at, so we'll take you for a little look.
That's the searchlight that Emma's just actually done. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I hope we explained that sort of well enough to you.
Yeah, but now we're going to get onto the nitty-gritties, which is obviously just walking around and pointing stuff out to you now.
There's still plenty more to see at this particular
Absolutely.
placement. Loads of little details and things. So we're just going to take you for a little bit of a tour, basically, and point out some things. If we can explain it, then we will.
And then we'll just say goodbye at the end of the video, as per usual. So, okay, so what we're going to do, as you saw a little while ago, this is the searchlight.
This is the smaller of the searchlights, and just up these stairs here.
Let's have a look. Now, bear in mind, there's no guardrail here, so whoever comes here, be very careful.
But obviously, once upon a time, there would have been. As you can see just here,
all these
is the remnants from that guardrail, of course, because there's quite a drop there. But just here, we've got another building, which...
Now, this is what I'm really confused about, Emma. They say this is a searchlight, and it says it even on the plaques that this is a searchlight.
Yeah.
The problem that I've got is that this searchlight here that we've just been to faces right out on the estuary.
Yes.
This one really doesn't.
Well, you say that, but if you were to look through these brambles and bushes and things, this actually looks out onto what is the docklands there at sort of the Thames port.
There you go.
So I don't know whether or not back then there was a lot of industry going on even maybe then.
Probably.
I am going to assume that was probably built to protect that. But this is a massive searchlight room. We don't usually see them this big.
And it's got gullies.
It has,
It's got all the gullies running through here.
I should imagine that this would have been for electrical equipment.
Yeah.
With those big searchlights, maybe two. I don't know.
I reckon there probably was two placed in here.
I think so.
But obviously you've got original features like the original shutter rails. Always very, very interesting. And this one's actually still got a padlock on it, which I don't think is the original feature.
I think that might be somebody's love lock there, you know.
But obviously these are the locks. This is where big two shutter doors would have come down.
My understanding, and I might be wrong, is that with these searchlights, they were generally kept on, I think, and closed when they weren't needed. I might be wrong there, though. So if I am wrong, by all means, let me know.
That's it. But this is basically where we are now. You can see the whole structure, and obviously down here you can see where again another magazine is, and more Spence magazines.
That's it, identical to the one we've been to.
So I'm not going to take you down, and they're literally identical.
They are, yeah.
The only thing that's different is that these massive, great big spotlights have been plonked straight on top of it.
It is, yeah. Of course, when they built these in around about 1902, 1905, that's
something
the approximate. They obviously decided that this building no longer needed any sort of defensive need. The guns were taken out, and the reason being, of course, was because
take you round.
I'm not sure if you can actually see it from
You might
here.
be able to. Let's have a quick look. You should be able to see it from here. Over there is Coalhouse Fort.
Yes, and if you look very carefully, you'll be able to see that there's adaptations to that. Of course, Coalhouse Fort is really old. I think it's like 1800s, isn't it? It's a particularly old fort. But they did adapt that as well in the First and possibly Second World War. Of course, there's no evidence that this building was even used in the Second World War. We think the searchlights may have been used in the First World War.
And obviously, I know you're talking about the faults as we're here, and as we are wrapping this video up now, the viewers might want to know, if you look very hard with this camera, but if you see just over there, there is an abandoned fort which is now being used as a quarry.
I believe, and I may be wrong, that that's Garrison Point Fort,
Garrison Point.
Which I don't think there's any access to that one. I may be wrong. I may even be I get a bit confused about where we are around the estuary here.
I know, but if you look in that direction, now you can just see, you can see the wall. It's just over there, and me and Emma visited that part of the fort. So there's actually 4 forts in this whole vicinity.
This area of the estuary, if you know it well, is covered in these Palmerston forts, these Victorian Napoleonic forts. And yeah, they are literally all around the estuary. And there is in fact another quite large gun battery just to the north, even more so, of the village here. So hence the reason that these weren't needed anymore, because this area had quite a lot of guns already, much more modern ones. But I think that's probably just about all there is to look at. So I think I'll get back to steer and we'll say goodbye.
Oh, all right.
Right.
You enjoy that?
Yeah, it was nice to come back and have
was.
another little look. Like I think we said earlier, we've been here in the past, haven't we?
We have, and now we've made another video for you viewers. But we hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you like and subscribe, that'd be great. That always helps us out.
Yeah, because we've got loads of military videos going on now. it's actually quite nice to be here back in Essex.
It is.
If you've been following us, we've done an awful lot of stuff down in Dover.
Yeah.
Again, Napoleonic stuff, Victorian stuff. It's
Yeah.
been quite incredible. So it's nice to get sort of back
Yeah,
home a little bit
and
more.
to subscribe and like, it doesn't cost anything, and we're quite happy to accept it. But if you are interested in a Patreon, we are doing that for £3 a month. No, there's no strings attached, and after about six months or a
12
year,
months, yeah.
12 months, we'll send you a nice little gift and a little
so
package.
if you want to see some extra bits and pieces from us, take a little look at that maybe.
So, as from Exploring with Em and Stu at East Tilbury,
Yes.
we'll see you again.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye-bye.